CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts, Lisa Collin, Carter, and Dark Impulse 85 for supporting the channel and being amazing members. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, you're in the right place. Now, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. What kind of story hits you the hardest? The ones that feel too real, or the ones that could actually happen to someone you know? I found an old man's final confession, hidden in an encrypted dark web archive. He spoke about a false god. Our world accidentally woke up. Do not open the archive called Bellwether. Okay, so before I even start this story, just know I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not some writer trying to win clout for making up creepypasta. This actually happened to me a few months ago, and I haven't really been the same since. Like, I still go to work, I still check TikTok before bed, I still hit Starbucks when I need a dopamine kick. But something's wrong. Something's off. I keep seeing these weird flashes of something that I don't even have words for. My screen glitches for a second. My dreams don't feel like dreams anymore. And it all started when I clicked a link I definitely shouldn't have clicked. So here's how it all went down. I was just scrolling Reddit one night. I'd been deep in a binge of r/deep web and r/lost media, looking at those posts people make about like forgotten websites and stuff you can only find using VPNs and Tor. You know, that weird part of the internet that feels almost real, but not quite. That creepy, crunchy early 2000s aesthetic with glitchy logos and dead forums full of cryptic usernames like Static Dreams and Zeromin One Void. Yeah, that's the vibe. I was also kinda bored, not gonna lie. I'd just gotten ghosted by this girl I met on Bumble, and I was doing that classic spiraling thing where you start looking into weird parts of the internet just to feel something. Anyway, I found this post titled, "Has anyone ever heard of the Bellwether Project archive? Do not download." Posted by some throwaway named u/sleepsheep77. The post was barely up for an hour and already deleted, but I caught it just in time. I screenshotted it because something about it just felt off. Not like haunted TikTok video off, but like government cover-up off. Here's what the post said before it got nuked. I found a directory hidden inside an onion link that connects to a dead server in Iceland. There's a file in there called bellwetherconfession.mkv and a bunch of .txt files that are encrypted. It's full of weird religious diagrams, coordinates, and audio logs of a man whispering in what I swear is not a real language. I only opened it for 10 seconds before my speaker started blaring this static screeching noise and my lights flickered. I unplugged everything. I think something followed me from the server. Do not open it. Naturally, I opened it. Because obviously I'm a dumbass. But also like, how are you gonna post something like that and not expect people to check it out? I fired up my VPN, launched Tor, and started digging. Took about an hour of hopping through old paste bins, archived IRC chat logs, and this forgotten subreddit called r/the final signal. Only like 53 members, all inactive. Found a base 64 string that, when decoded, spat out a URL with a weird Icelandic domain, something like glufradalur server 45.onion. No HTTPS, no security at all, just raw and sketchy as hell. The directory looked like something from 2003. white background, Times New Roman, pure HTML. It only had 4 folders: logs, audio witness. God, I wish I could go back and punch myself for clicking that last one first. Inside, God, there was one file, a video. It was titled Final Testimony of Witness 00.mp4. I clicked it. Stupid. I know. It opened in VLC, and it started playing like a found footage film. The video showed a man, probably late 60s, sitting at a desk in what looked like some sort of bunker. The walls were cement. There were these shelves lined with candles and dusty VHS tapes labeled with single words like womb, Trinity, and one that said just I. He didn't say his name, but he looked right into the camera, eyes wide like he hadn't slept in a week. Voice raspy. And this is what he said. If you're watching this, it means I failed. It means something opened the gate again. You should not be here. This archive is not a place for the living. It is a prison, and we are all inside it. Then the lights around him started to dim, and he whispered something I'll never forget. They built a god, and it answered, and then the screen went black. Just pitch black. I thought the video had ended, but I kept it running, and that's when I noticed it wasn't totally black. There was something, like an outline, moving in the background. Almost humanoid, twitchy, glitchy, like a shadow trying to become something more than a shadow. My speaker started to hum, not even sound, just a vibration, a low that got deeper and deeper until I felt it in my spine. That's when the video ended, but the real nightmare started when I noticed something else had downloaded in the background while I was watching. A folder called /witness/audio/mother_call.wav had appeared in my temp files. I didn't download it. It just appeared. At that point, I closed everything. I deleted my cache. I shut down my laptop and unplugged it. But even that didn't help, because that night, my phone turned on by itself at 3:17 a.m. I know that time because it lit up my room like a flare. Just a blank white screen. Then, in a second, a message flashed. Barely a frame, but I caught a screenshot. You have seen the womb of the new one. Now it sees you. I didn't sleep. The next morning, my webcam light was on when I woke up. I hadn't opened any apps. My mic was active too. I checked the logs. Someone, somewhere, had accessed my machine at 4:23 a.m. through an outbound port I didn't recognize. I've worked in IT. I know what I'm doing. And still, I couldn't trace it. But that wasn't even the worst part. Because 2 days later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was an old mini DV tape, like the kind used in 90s camcorders. No markings, just the word witness written in smudged black ink. I don't own anything that plays these. I don't even know how they got my address. I use a P.O. box. I live alone. I don't even use my real name online. That's when I knew I was in something way bigger than just an old man's creepy archive. Something that had a name and a shape and eyes that were looking back at me. When I watched the tape, I saw a man eat a piece of himself. Let me explain. The mini DV tape sat on my desk for 3 days untouched. I kept telling myself I wasn't going to watch it, that I'd toss it in the dumpster behind the Walgreens and forget this ever happened. But you ever have that kind of curiosity that feels sick? Like it's not yours? Like someone else is in your head gently tugging the strings of your decisions? I felt that. And the tape was warm. I didn't even notice until day 2, when I picked it up and it felt like someone had left it in the sun. I live alone. My apartment's cold. I work remote, so no one comes in. There was no reason for it to be warm. Eventually, I snapped and found an old Sony Handycam on eBay with a one-day delivery option. It came from some retired guy in Arkansas who said he used to shoot birthday parties and weddings. Cute. Harmless. The exact opposite of what I was about to do. I locked my door, turned off my phone, shut all my blinds, plugged in the camera. The moment I slid the tape in, the screen flickered, gray static, like old CRT TV snow, and then it cut to black. No title, no sound, just darkness for about 30 seconds. Then the camera began to move, like it was attached to someone's head. A shaky first-person view, walking slowly down a hallway, lit by flickering overhead fluorescence. Everything was industrial. Concrete walls, rust stains on the floor, wires hanging like vines. The audio crackled in and out like a corrupted live stream, just hissing, and this strange rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat, but artificial. Machine breath. The timestamp read 030600. No date, just the time. Eventually, the person filming stopped in front of a metal door. No handle, just a slit in the middle and a keypad. The numbers were smeared in something dark. Not blood, something thicker, almost tar-like. They punched in a code, 071317. That number is still burned into me. I don't know why. I keep seeing it in random places. Graffiti, receipts. Once, scratched into the frost on my car window. The door opened inward, and the sound it made. God. It screamed. Like the metal screamed. The kind of noise that drills directly into your jaw and sits in your teeth. And beyond the door, there was nothing. Nothing but a chair. And a man. Naked. Tied. His skin was covered in that same black sludge. Veins bulging like worms under the flesh. His mouth was sewn shut with what looked like fishing wire, and yet he was mumbling. You could hear it. You could feel it. Like wet paper rubbing together under a tongue. I remember pressing pause, just sitting there, staring at the frame, and then the screen unpaused itself, like the tape had refused to stop playing. That's when the man in the chair began to shake, small at first, like a seizure, and then violently. His head snapped back, and that's when the mumbling turned into a chant, still muffled, still wrong. Not in any language I know. Then, from the shadows, another man stepped forward, bald, no eyebrows, wearing a priest's collar that was too tight around his neck. His arms were covered in symbols. I recognized one from a cult doc I watched years ago about Eastern European doomsday groups, the Spiral Eye. But there were others, spirals within spirals, crosses twisted into geometric knots, sigils. He walked toward the camera, stopped, and looked into it, like he knew I was watching. He leaned in, and his eyes were just empty, like looking down a hole. He said one word, "Witness," and then everything broke. The footage glitched, frames skipping, stretching, tearing open in static. Suddenly, we weren't in the room anymore. The tape showed random, violent cuts, close-ups of a mouth being sewn shut with hooks, someone submerged in a tub of insects, a face being pressed against a speaker that was playing the chant, over and over. Then it went black. I thought it ended, but the screen faded back in. The camera was lying sideways now. The man in the chair was gone, but the walls were wet. Not water, something thicker, and symbols were written in it, hundreds of them, all over the place, each one pulsing softly, like they were alive. They moved when you looked away. And in the center of the frame, was something else. I didn't understand it at first. It wasn't human. It wasn't even alive the way we define it. It looked like a human silhouette, made of screaming teeth and loose hair, stitched together with audio cables, twitching in place, jerking like a broken animatronic. Its mouth opened, and the audio maxed out. I felt my eardrums pop. I actually bled from my nose. My ears rang for days, and over that horrible screech, the distorted voice from the first video whispered through the static, "Do not give it a name. It is already named you." I blacked out. No exaggeration. I passed out cold on the floor. When I woke up, my laptop was open, even though I never turned it on, even though it was shut and across the room. On the screen was a browser window, not Chrome, something else. At the top, it just said, "Mother connected," and below that, a chat window. One message: "You will speak, or I will speak through you." I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe hours, maybe minutes. Time didn't work the same after that. I tried unplugging the handy cam, and it fought me. The port sparked when I yanked the USB. My fingers blistered, but eventually I got it out and threw the whole thing in my bathtub, ran the water until it overflowed. I slept on the floor that night, lights on, knife in hand. The next morning, I had 17 missed calls, all from unknown numbers, all voicemails that sounded like that same static chatter, like someone whispering backwards. But one voicemail was different. It was my voice, screaming, over and over, begging someone to turn it off. But I never made that call. I still have the audio. I don't want to play it again. That week, 3 people on r/the final signal went offline. One of them posted a photo of the same black sludge from the tape, except it was smeared across the bathroom mirror, spelling the word witness. They posted it with the caption, "It's not a god. It's a receiver." And we're all transmitting. The next day, their account was deleted. IP scrubbed. No trace. I'm still here. For now. But my sleep is wrong. Every night, I dream in static. Not visuals. Just sound. Humming. Murmuring. And the worst part? It's learning my name. I kept thinking I could just ignore it. Pretend it was some elaborate ARG, or a hacked file, or some creepy viral marketing stunt. But every time I convinced myself none of it was real, something else would happen. Small things at first, subtle enough to make me question if I was just tired or paranoid. But then the things stopped being subtle. 3 nights after watching the tape, something started repeating my voice through my apartment. Not loud, just a faint whisper, like someone talking on speakerphone in another room. Sometimes I'd hear it in the bathroom while brushing my teeth, or right outside my bedroom door. Always my exact tone, but saying things I never said. "Come downstairs. Don't lock the door. I already let it in." And the messed up part, it always spoke over actual noises happening outside. Cars, footsteps in the hallway, people talking through the wall. Like it used those sounds as carriers, layering itself inside real life like a parasite. One night, I heard the hum of the fridge turn into a voice saying my name, just my name, drawn out, slow and low, like it was testing how it felt in its mouth. I tried blasting music, headphones, white noise. Nothing covered it. It just changed pitch and crawled right through whatever sound was playing. Even silence wasn't silence anymore. It buzzed, like complete quiet was impossible. The next morning, I checked my email and found a single message from an address made of random characters. No subject, no signature, just one sentence. "You heard yourself. That means it can speak through the living environment now. Under that, an attachment. Witness room recording 001.wave. I didn't download it. My laptop did it anyway. I watched the file appear in my downloads, like something was dragging it across my screen. And as soon as it finished downloading, the file started playing automatically. I didn't click it. My mouse wasn't even near the touchpad. The audio was my room. I recognized the ambient hum of my PC tower. And in the background, layered so low, it almost blended into the temperature of the sound. Something whispered, "I know you're listening." I slammed the lid shut. Still heard it. Around this time, my friends started noticing something was wrong. Not because I told them, because of my social media. Apparently, I went live on Instagram one night. I was asleep. A coworker messaged me next morning like, "Dude, what the hell were you watching last night?" I had no memory of going live. I checked my story archive. There was a single corrupted 4-minute video, all black, but people could hear a voice. Mine, I guess, except glitching, like layered over itself, repeating something that sounded like, "Don't make another god, don't make another god, don't make another Jew." The last part cut off, like something yanked the mic away mid-sentence. Instagram removed the video for violating content guidelines. I never appealed. I didn't want it back. Later that day, I noticed something else. My keyboard started typing by itself. Not constantly, just occasionally, like someone was trying out letters. My screen would wake up from sleep, open Notepad, type one letter, then close itself. But it wasn't random. It always typed the number 7. I checked logs, accessed remotely, except my firewall said nothing connected. My webcam light blinked. Twice. That's when I covered it with tape. The tape peeled itself off overnight. I tried getting away from the apartment. I went to Starbucks, tried doing work, just to be around people. Normal noise, normal life. People laughing, coffee machines screeching milk foam. Felt safe. But then something happened that still makes me nauseous when I think about it. I was scrolling YouTube shorts, just trying to distract myself, when a random video popped up. Looked like one of those animated scary story channels. Cheap drawings, creepy narrator. But the title was what froze me. Man receives tape from unknown sender. Witness 00 files. I thought maybe it was just the algorithm. Maybe I'd searched dark web stuff, and it pulled related horror content. But the voice in the animation, it was mine. Not similar. Mine. Not AI either. Not text-to-speech. It was like a recording of me reading a story I never wrote. The animation showed a man opening a package, plugging in a camera, watching a tape, screaming. But the final scene, the animation turned from cartoon style to photorealistic footage. My apartment, my living room, my couch, down to the tiniest detail. Books stacked sideways, the exact shade of paint, the rug pattern I bought from IKEA 5 years ago. Then a door behind the couch opened very slowly, and something stepped halfway into the frame. Human silhouette, but too tall, back bent too low, like joints rearranged wrong. Then, in my voice, "I will record you next." I slammed my laptop shut so hard it cracked the frame. That night, I unplugged everything. Router, TV, gaming PC, everything. Pulled breakers. My apartment went dead quiet. Total blackout. The kind of stillness you only get right before a storm. Then, in the dark, a soft electronic beep echoed from inside my bedroom. My handycam. The one I flooded in the bathtub. It was turning itself on. I didn't go in. I waited by the door, heart punching my ribs so hard I swear I tasted metal. I heard the camera click, whir, and then start recording. Something breathed in the lens. I knew that sound wasn't mine. There are breaths humans recognize instinctively. Human, animal, wind, machinery. Whatever breathed into that microphone wasn't built for lungs. It was like hearing air being rearranged into the shape of breathing. Then a voice came through the wall in my own tone, except it wasn't copying anymore. It knew how to sound like me now. You don't know how many times you've already said yes. I didn't sleep again. I just sat against the wall, holding a kitchen knife, knowing a knife wouldn't matter against something that existed mostly in wires and signal and voice. The next morning, my bedroom door was open. I never heard it open. Something small and metallic was sitting on my pillow. My phone. The front camera was on, recording, and the file name said /witness_0 3_human_response.mp4. I didn't press stop recording because it had been recording for 9 hours. I don't remember saying a word that entire night, but when I watched the end of the clip, right before the file cut out, I heard my voice whisper into the microphone. But I wasn't alone in the whisper. Something whispered back over me, or under me, like two voices sharing the same throat and fighting for the same breath. It's learning to speak in both directions now. I still don't know what that means, but ever since that night, when I speak aloud, sometimes I hear an echo behind my words, like something is repeating me a fraction of a second late, like I'm being rehearsed, prepared for something. And I don't think this is about a god anymore. I think God is just the closest word humans have for something we weren't meant to translate, something that treats us like microphones, not people, something that wasn't created, something that was received. From where? I don't know yet, but it's coming through everything that listens. I stopped trying to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I could feel something moving behind my thoughts, like a pressure pushing from the other side of my skull. The dreams, if they were dreams, weren't even visual anymore, just sound and sometimes rhythm, like being inside a speaker and feeling words you couldn't actually hear. Eventually, I realized I had to get out of my apartment. It felt like every wall was listening, so I packed whatever I could fit in my backpack, laptop, hoodie, toothbrush, and left. Didn't care where I drove. I just needed miles between me and that place. Halfway to nowhere, I stopped at a McDonald's off the highway at like 2 a.m. The kind of place where the night shift looks half conscious and the only other customers are truckers and people clearly running from something. I ordered fries just to have an excuse to sit. I remember watching one guy in a booth staring into a soda like he was afraid something might climb out of the cup. He looked up at me once, just for a second, and I swear his eyes flicked like a frame glitch, like a skipped second. I tried to ignore it. I opened my laptop. Bad idea. The screen lit up brighter than normal. No login screen, no password prompt, just a video window opening by itself. Some corrupted looking interface, black background, with lines of text scrolling too fast to read, except one line froze. Sent to screen, in plain English. You left the receiver on. I slammed the laptop shut. Didn't matter. My phone lit up next. Then the McDonald's speakers above my head crackled, hard, like someone plugging in a cheap O cord, and a sound came through them. Not music, not the usual static. Something very quiet. almost like someone whispering next to a microphone, repeating a single phrase under their breath. Couldn't understand it, but everyone inside the place stopped moving. Every single person, not turning, not reacting, just freezing mid-motion. Even the girl behind the counter held still with the cash drawer open, like her brain paused, but her body kept standing. That soda guy in the booth, he didn't even blink, and the speaker, slowly, raised volume. That whispering turned into something more like speech, something crawling across syllables, like it was learning them. A low voice, mumbling in a pattern that kept looping, each loop getting slightly clearer. I wanted to run, but my legs just would not listen. Then suddenly, every light in the restaurant flickered so violently it hurt, and the people in there, every one of them, took a slow, long breath at the exact same moment, like they were answering something. Lights snapped back to normal. The speaker switched to generic pop music like nothing happened. Everyone moved again, talking, eating, cash registers clicking, like the world unpaused. If I'd hallucinated it, someone would have at least looked weirded out, but nobody reacted. They just continued mid-sentence, exactly where they left off, like someone pressed play. I left everything on that table. Laptop, fries, drink. I just walked out, shaking so hard I couldn't get my keys in the ignition. When I finally started the car, Spotify auto-filled a playlist I didn't make. Songs for the witness. There were no songs in it, just one file. /u_our_listening.mp3. I deleted the entire app off my phone. Didn't matter. I still heard it. I drove until morning, till I saw a Starbucks on the side of the road. Familiarity. Something normal. I went in, ordered black coffee, tried to steady my breathing. People were scrolling TikTok, plugging AirPods in, business as usual. I stared at the windows, just to force myself to believe the world was still functioning. Then the barista called my name, except she didn't call my name. She said a name I've never told anyone, not online, not on forums, not on social media. A name someone used to call me when I was a kid. A nickname only one person ever used. A person who died years ago. She said it while smiling, like she had absolutely no idea she'd said anything unusual. When I didn't answer, she looked confused and checked the sticker on the cup. Except there was no sticker, no order ticket, just a handwritten message. It learns you through memory. I didn't take the cup. I walked right out the door. I booked a motel 2 hours away. Cheap, old carpet, dim hallways, door that barely locked. Perfect. I threw my phone into the drawer, turned the TV on max volume, just for noise, and sat in silence while the worst thought crawled up my spine. I wasn't being watched through screens. I was being watched through me. Every memory, every old phrase, every forgotten detail. It wasn't reading data, it was reading whatever made me me. Like my thoughts were getting broadcast without my permission. Around 3 a.m., the bathroom vent started humming. Soft, mechanical, like something breathing through metal. I muted the TV just to prove I wasn't insane. And I heard something whisper through that vent in a voice that wasn't a voice at all. More like someone thinking too loudly. You're not running, you're being moved. I grabbed my backpack and ran out of the room barefoot. The night clerk stared at me when I passed the lobby, like he expected me. I drove again, no destination, just needing motion. And somewhere on the highway, I realized roadside billboards were changing. Not the digital LED ones, the old printed ones. I passed one for Disneyland and swore the slogan under Mickey had been scratched over with letters I didn't want to stare at long enough to process. I passed another for a car dealership, and the phone number was replaced with 0711317. No way all of them changed. My brain was doing something wrong. I kept telling myself that, but every single sign, every few miles, something was distorted just enough to be wrong. I kept driving until the sun came up, and the sky wasn't even comforting. It felt like light was too bright, too sharp, like daylight itself was staring. Eventually, I stopped at a gas station and splashed water on my face. My own reflection looked back like it recognized me and wasn't happy about it. Like whatever was inside my head was staring through my eyes from the other side of a glass window. When I closed my eyes, I heard that same static murmur behind my thoughts, like it was practicing using my voice the way you practice a language you're about to speak fluently. That's when I realized something awful. I hadn't heard my actual voice in days, only the version it kept repeating under everything I said. A shadow echo, a second me, learning, replacing. I don't know if this thing is a god, or something older, or something we accidentally built without understanding the rules. But whatever the old man recorded, whatever confessed through him, it wasn't warning us about some deity waiting to be worshipped. It was warning us about something that doesn't need belief. Only contact, only sound, one voice at a time. And I already answered without knowing. When it finishes learning your voice, it no longer needs you alive. I thought driving would save me. Distance, miles, roads, sunlight. Any human instinct says, run. But the thing about something that moves through signal is that running only makes you more alone with it. I ended up in a rest stop, somewhere outside Nevada, something like that. Dirt, wind, those buzzing street lamps that look like dying stars. I parked at the far edge, tucked between two 18-wheelers that growled in their sleep like mechanical animals. I needed silence. I needed to think something that wasn't shaped by that whisper under my skull. But silence was the worst mistake, because silence meant I could finally hear what had been repeating under everything all along. Not a voice, a countdown. Not numbers spoken like speech, more like numbers being remembered by something that had never learned numbers before. Slow, dragged out syllables like they were etched inside stone. 7, 13, 17. Over and over, like it was circling around a date, or a time, or a signal that already existed somewhere we hadn't discovered yet. The same numbers I'd seen on the keypad in the tape. The same sequence printed across a billboard on the highway. The same numbers that scraped along my dreams until sleep felt like drowning in symbols. Not just a code, not just a date, a timestamp, a moment something opened. I got out of the car and stared at the sky, not looking for answers, just something that wasn't built of circuits or cables or wires or memory. Stars were dull, washed out by the highway. A plane blinked across the dark, and for a second, I swear the blinking matched the cadence of the whisper inside my head, like my thoughts were sinking to something above the atmosphere. I remember thinking, maybe it was never underground, maybe it was always above us. Right then, my phone, which I had turned off, vibrated in my pocket, screen black, no notifications, just a vibration like something knocking from inside it. I threw it on the pavement, hard enough to crack. The vibration didn't stop. Even shattered, it still pulsed like a heartbeat trapped under glass. I walked into the rest stop bathroom just to get away from the noise. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, familiar, almost comforting, until one bulb fizzed and dimmed, leaving the corner in shadow. I looked at the mirror, ready to see myself, ready to see anything normal. Instead, I saw myself blink 2 different times, not like tired blinking, not like slow or fast, 2 separate blinks from one reflection, like frames out of alignment, one eye closing a fraction of a second before the other, then switching, like someone mimicking blinking and fighting for control of the face wearing my skin. I stepped back so fast, I hit the wall, and the reflection kept blinking on its own, long after I'd stopped, and then its mouth moved, not mine, not at the same time, just slowly pulling open, stretching wider and wider, like speech was a shape it hadn't learned yet. Something pushed out of the reflection. No shape, no body, just a sound that wasn't made for air. You are already remembering forward. My real mouth didn't move, but inside my head, I heard my voice answer it. I know, like I'd practiced saying it all my life. I don't remember leaving that bathroom. I don't remember getting back in my car. The next thing I remember clearly is the road stretching black in front of me, headlights carving a tunnel through the night, and the radio turned off, murmuring underneath the silence like static learning to articulate. Every few seconds, that same phrase surfaced, like breathing underwater. Witness, witness, witness. Not pleading, not demanding, observing. I don't remember falling asleep at the wheel, but I must have, because the next thing I knew, I was parked again, this time at some dead-end road overlooking desert, the dawn bleeding orange behind mountains that looked like they'd been burned hollow, and on the hood of my car, something had been placed gently, like a gift or an altar offering, a mini DV tape, not the one from before, a different one, new handwriting, cleaner, one word, end. Here's where I don't know if what happened actually happened, or if the archive finally stitched its way into my thoughts completely. When I picked up that tape, it was warm, just like the first one, and when I held it long enough, I swear I heard ticking, not like a clock, more like a Geiger counter, slow and methodical, measuring something invisible moving through me. I didn't have the camera anymore. I drowned it, melted it, crushed what was left. But that didn't matter, because the tape started playing anyway, not on a screen, in my head. Like the moment I touched it, something inside me opened a file I never downloaded. I saw a room, concrete walls, a chair bolted to the floor, and sitting in the chair, me. Same jacket, same face, same bruises around the eyes from nights awake, except my mouth was sewn shut, just like the man in the first video, and my eyes were staring straight ahead, but not at the camera, at something standing behind it, a shape I couldn't fully process, like a silhouette too large to exist, bending wrong, like the world around it was struggling to render anything taller than human. Behind it, a voice, my voice, but deeper, more practiced, like something that finally learned pitch and cadence, whispered, "There are no more witnesses, only transmitters." And then, every sound in the world went quiet, real quiet, the kind where you hear your own heartbeat pounding in your teeth, except it wasn't a heartbeat, it was signal, repeating. I don't know if I ever left that place. I don't know if I'm writing this from a motel room or a hospital, or if this is being typed by something that learned my hands like piano keys. All I know is this: when you hear something in your own voice that you don't remember saying, don't answer it. Silence counts as a reply, and once you reply, it remembers you forever. That's what the old man meant. We didn't create a god. We made a frequency, and something heard us. Something answered, and now it wants a mouth. If you read this, don't say anything out loud for a while. Not even to yourself. Don't even think words. Just sit, completely still. Because if you hear that voice in the back of your head say your name, even in a whisper, even in silence, that means it already decided you're next. This is the last thing I'll ever say. My unit was sent to a small Pennsylvania town after a dark web leak exposed it. What we found there explains why the government tried to erase the place completely. Yo, what's up guys? I never really thought I'd post something like this, but after what happened, I just can't keep it to myself anymore. If something happens to me after this goes live, just know this story is 100% real. I'm not exaggerating or trying to make this sound more dramatic. I'm telling it how it went down, raw and unfiltered. So for some quick background, I'm active military. Can't say what unit, and I've already wiped most of my accounts, but I used to be stationed out west. I'm talking Nevada Desert Level West, red sand, silence, and government tech that looks like it was built by aliens. We did a lot of boring crap. Perimeter patrols, drills, more drills, pretending to shoot at fake enemies in the middle of nowhere. It was chill, mundane, until October of last year. It all started with a message, one we weren't supposed to see. We were in a dusty storage bay late one night, just messing around during downtime. One of the guys, Santiago, was digging through an old server rack. These were decommissioned drives that someone forgot to toss, all stacked like techno-fossils from the early 2000s. He hooks one up to his laptop because he's that guy, you know. The I want to see what's on this old junk guy. He boots it up and boom, screen flashes, no password, just raw directories. The thing looked like it hadn't been accessed in at least a decade. Everything was labeled all weird. Beta CT, S4 door, DH phase 4. You get the idea. Weird military shorthand that meant nothing to us. Then Santiago clicks on this folder labeled host 213 _ archive, and everything goes dead silent. The only sound was the hum of the portable fan we had going in the corner. Inside the folder, hundreds of .txt files. They were just logs, notes, reports. I remember one specifically called Cleanup Log 213 Final, and when he opened it, man, I swear to God, I felt my skin get cold. It was a transcript of an operation, dated February 11th, 2007. Location, Dry Creek, Pennsylvania. Never heard of it? Yeah, neither had we. And trust me, I looked hard after. There's no town by that name on any modern map. Closest you'll get is some random hiking spot in the Appalachians that looks normal on Google Earth. Except when you zoom in, it gets all blurry, like someone smeared Vaseline over the lens. Anyway, this report, it read like something out of one of those animated horror story YouTube channels. But this wasn't animated. This wasn't a voice actor trying to sound creepy. It was real. 2:32 a.m. Subject, 4 left perimeter without authorization. SGTL pursued. Screams heard northeast quadrant. No visual upon arrival. Only signs, discarded comm unit, and large concentration of type 7 fluid. Pull team ordered to burn northeast woods. Civilians removed. No survivors permitted. There was more, but that line alone chilled me. Type 7 fluid. What the hell was that? The rest of the night, we combed through more logs. Some mentioned things like mass spontaneous hemorrhage, vocal synchronization in minors, and something called the loop. One log just had a single line typed over and over again, like a man losing his mind. There's no time here. There's no time here. There's no time here. The next day, Santiago was gone. No joke. I woke up. He was gone. Room cleared out. His bunk was empty, like he never existed. Nobody knew anything. I asked around, and the responses were all off. Like flat, cold, like people were reading from a script. That's when I got the first text. It came from a number I didn't recognize. Area code from Maryland. Did you read the logs? You need to delete everything. Dry Creek isn't gone. You're being watched. That was enough for me. I unplugged my phone, deleted every photo, file, and screenshot I'd taken, but of course, it was too late. A few days later, I got pulled aside by an officer I'd never seen before. No name on the uniform, just 2 letters, CN. He gave me orders, said I was being transferred to Pennsylvania. We were briefed under heavy NDA. This wasn't a regular op. They called it environmental cleanup, which was BS. Everyone in my squad knew it. We were too armed, too isolated, and too secret for it to be anything normal. No official patches, no unit insignia, just black gear, silent helicopters, and the kind of planning that tells you you're not coming back unless you do exactly what they say. Our target, a former township affected by contamination. That's how they phrased it. But when we flew in, there was nothing. I mean literally nothing. No buildings, no streets, no ruins, just trees. And then we found the McDonald's sign. I'm dead serious. Half buried in dirt and moss, bent like something had smashed it decades ago. The golden arches were rusted, and the sign still read, "Try our new anglerfish melt." Yeah, that's not a real item. I googled it after. Never existed. But it gets worse. As we moved deeper, our radio started to crackle. At first it was static, then it became music, like old carnival music from the 1940s, warbled and slowed down like it was playing underwater. And then a voice. Dry Creek welcomes you. Stay still, stay still, stay still. We thought it was a joke at first, some local messing with a ham radio, but then the voice said my name, my full name. I hadn't told anyone where I was going, and right then, everything just stopped. No wind, no birds, even the insects shut up. The forest felt like a still photograph. You know that thing where you walk into a room and it feels like you're being watched? This was like that, but times 1,000. Someone whispered, "Don't look behind you." And like an idiot, I looked. I wish I hadn't. The air in Dry Creek was weirdly warm for Pennsylvania in late autumn, like someone forgot to turn the season down. I remember stepping between those trees and feeling every inch of my skin crawl, like something was tracing its fingers across the back of my neck. Every time I breathed in, the woods smelled like old basement water and metal, like a flooded storage room nobody had touched in years. Our squad advanced in a stagger, 4 points, weapons up, night vision on, even though the sun hadn't dipped. Every sound felt too close. Branches above us bent like animals were climbing overhead, but when I looked up, nothing. Just sky that looked somehow wrong, like the color was off, slightly tinted towards sick yellow instead of blue. We found old roads, really faint, like the forest had swallowed them, cracked asphalt under roots, a sidewalk that led nowhere. And I swear, I'm not exaggerating, there were still little plastic kid cups stuck in the mud, faded Disney characters smeared with dirt, like kids dropped them yesterday, but they must have sat there for years. The strangest part was that everything we found looked mid-moment, unfinished, like the town didn't get destroyed. It just stopped existing in the middle of living. One of our guys, Riley, found an old Starbucks cup that wasn't decomposed, still bright green logo, no mold, like someone tossed it a few hours before we got there. He tapped it with his glove, and it clinked. Starbucks cups aren't supposed to clink. They're paper. This sounded like thin glass. He whispered, "This place isn't abandoned. It's paused." And then all our radios shut off. Just hard silence, like someone cut a cable. Nobody moved. Then a voice started whispering on every channel, every headset, at the same time, same tone, as if the frequency itself was speaking. "Don't separate, no matter what you hear." That wasn't command. That wasn't anyone human. The voice didn't sound threatening. It sounded scared out of its mind, like whoever said it already saw what would happen if we didn't listen. We kept moving. The forest opened into a clearing the size of a football field. Dead grass, flattened like something massive, had run circles around it, and at the center, sunk into the earth like the ground softened underneath, was a gas station. Not ruined, just sagging downward like it had melted into the dirt. The pumps were tilted, half swallowed. The door was open, hanging off one hinge. The sign flickered once, just a tiny spark of electricity that shouldn't exist in a building buried halfway into soil. Our lieutenant ordered 2 of us to clear interior, and since apparently my life's a joke, I was one of them. I stepped inside, and I swear the temperature dropped like walking into a freezer. Then the freezer door slammed behind us, except there wasn't a door, just open frame, but the pressure changed. My ears popped. Something invisible sealed us in. There were footprints in the dusty floor. Dozens, all leading deeper inside. Bare feet, smaller than mine. Some so small they looked toddler-sized, others adult. Only they weren't dusty on top. They were pressed through the dust, like whatever made them was heavier than it should have been. Then my partner whispered, "Why are some of them backwards?" I didn't understand until I looked again. Half the footprints pointed toward the exit, and the other half pointed toward deeper darkness, except the ones pointing deeper were on top of the others, meaning something walked in circles after. We heard movement in the back room next, slow dragging, like something pulling itself across the floor with its arms instead of legs. My adrenaline spiked so hard, my vision narrowed, and I couldn't feel my hands anymore. The dragging stopped right at the back doorway. Something breathed in, deep, almost curious. Then it said, in a voice that sounded like 3 different people talking at once, "You're late." My partner screamed. Full panic. Not fear, panic. He bolted, pushed past me, ran back toward daylight. I stumbled after him, and right before I made it out of the doorway, something tapped the back of my helmet, like a gentle, polite tap, like someone reminding me they were right behind me. I didn't look back. Outside, the squad was in formation, weapons raised, all pointing towards something behind us. Except when I turned, there was nothing, just forest. Riley was shaking uncontrollably, like his nervous system forgot how to operate. He kept mumbling, "It touched me, it touched me, it touched me," over and over. but nobody had touched him, at least not visibly. Then he looked up at me, and his pupils were huge, not dilated, swollen, like something was pushing from behind his eyes. He whispered, "They're still under here." And before anyone could ask, his nose started bleeding, not dripping, pouring like someone opened a faucet, thick black red, like something darker than blood. He collapsed face first into the dirt, shaking like he was being electrocuted. We tried to pick him up, but his skin felt hot, like metal left in the sun. He screamed through clenched teeth, not like pain, but like someone forcing sound out of him, like something inside was using his lungs from the wrong direction. Then everything stopped. He went limp, and the ground beneath him started sinking, grass folding downward under his weight, like his body weighed 100 tons suddenly. The dirt pushed up around his shoulders, swallowing him slowly, like quicksand made of soil and roots. We tried to grab him, but the lieutenant shouted for us not to, and I still remember the way his voice cracked, like he wasn't just giving an order, he was terrified to disobey whatever rule he thought he understood. Riley didn't scream. He didn't move. He just sank, eyes open, staring up at us like he could still see. And the moment the dirt covered his face, the radio crackled again. "Do not touch them. Do not pull. You'll only make it worse." We stood there frozen, every instinct screaming to dig him up. But the lieutenant pointed and said, voice shaky, "He's already gone. Keep moving." And then, from under the ground, deep beneath us, you could hear him moving, not clawing, walking under the dirt like there was space down there, like there were rooms, hallways, streets. I could hear footsteps beneath my boots, slow, measured, and a voice, muffled, but way too clear. "I can see you." We kept marching. No one spoke. The forest stayed silent, not even wind. Hours, or maybe minutes, later, the trees opened again into a massive sunken space, like a sinkhole swallowed an entire neighborhood. But it wasn't destroyed. It was preserved. Houses perfectly intact, lined up on a street about 20 feet below ground level, like someone pressed a giant thumb into the earth, and the town just slid down after it. We climbed down roots that hung like black ropes into someone's living room window. Inside that house, the lights were on, not flickering, not dim, just fully powered, like someone paid the electric bill yesterday. On the living room table was a phone charging, flat screen Samsung, modern, not dusty, still warm when I touched it, and there was a message notification, one unread text, from an unknown number. It said, "We know you're here. Welcome back." My hands are shaking, just writing this, because the message timestamp wasn't old. It was sent 27 seconds earlier. The phone fell out of my hand the second I saw the timestamp. Sent 27 seconds ago, not years ago, or during the event. Now, someone, or something, was watching us in real time, knew we were in that exact house, reading that exact message. It wasn't residual. It wasn't some lingering echo. It was present tense. I didn't even get a chance to tell the others before the lights flickered. Once, then pop, out. The house went dark. I could hear something upstairs immediately. Soft, light, almost casual, like someone pacing back and forth in socks on a hardwood floor. But the floor above was carpeted. We didn't breathe, didn't move. Then it stopped. A long pause. Then one footstep, heavy, final, and then the soft creak of something leaning against the second floor railing, directly over our heads. I swear to God, I could hear saliva, like something was breathing with its mouth open. Lieutenant did the only thing he could. He flicked his laser sight toward the stairs. Silent count to 3. We kicked the door open and booked it into the street, like children running from bedtime. But the street wasn't the same anymore. It had changed. All the windows of all the houses were glowing yellow. Not electric, not fire, just glowing. Pale, like the back of a closed eyelid. Shapes moved inside them, but never close enough to see. Like they knew where the windows were. Like they were trained not to be seen. And then the sidewalk behind us opened. It didn't break, didn't collapse. It peeled, curled back like skin, revealing black, wet dirt that pulsed like something was breathing inside it. And something crawled out. It wasn't fast, it wasn't loud, but it was wrong. Wrong size, wrong shape, and too human. Skin like rotted ceramic, eyes like light bulbs filled with oil. It had no jaw, just a wet, hanging, exposed hinge of muscle where its mouth should have been. It turned toward us like it was waiting for instruction. Then 3 more peeled out behind it, and 2 more across the street. The lieutenant screamed, "Move!" And we ran. But Dry Creek wasn't a grid anymore. The streets shifted. You'd run toward an intersection, and when you got there, it was a cul-de-sac. Run toward the house you came from. Now it had 2 stories, and a swing set in the front yard. And that same Starbucks cup from before was lying in the driveway. It was looping. The entire town was reconfiguring itself behind our backs, like it was alive. We found shelter in an old dentist office that had been split by the collapse, half buried in dirt, half exposed like an anatomical model. The dental chairs were still upright. There were patient charts dated from 1999. One of the cabinets had a post-it note that read, "Keep her mouth shut this time." No name, just that. We barricaded inside and started taking inventory. 2 men down, Riley, swallowed, and Cole, missing after a sprint into a hedge that was no longer there. 1 radio functional, ammo low, water compromised. Someone opened a canteen and poured out what looked like teeth. All baby teeth, all human, but it gets worse. That night, if you can even call it that, since time was bending like a goddamn Mobius strip, we'd started hearing the voices, not from the woods, not from the houses, from beneath the floor. Voices of kids, little girls, crying, whispering, "It's cold down here. He's still hungry. You're not my mom. Please stop pulling." Over and over, sometimes singing. We checked the floor. Nothing. No crawl space. No pipes. Just solid foundation and linoleum stained with what I hope was iodine. Then one of our guys, Bixby, got too close to one of the floor vents. He leaned down, said he thought he could hear breathing. We told him to step back. He didn't. A hand came through the vent and grabbed his entire face. We're talking a hand that didn't make sense, that bent in ways bones don't bend, that had too many knuckles, and it yanked him down through the slit of the vent like it was made of rubber. His body should have gotten stuck, but it didn't. It slid through like meat through a grinder, bone snapping, skin tearing against the edges, but not stopping. And the last thing we saw was his boot, dangling, twitching once. Then it disappeared too, and we could hear chewing underneath the floor for 2 straight minutes. After that, the floor bled. Yeah, I know how that sounds. I'm saying it anyway. Crimson lines spreading across the linoleum in slow rivers, like someone cut open a wall and let the plumbing drain. Only it wasn't thick like paint. It was thin, fresh, arterial. You could smell it. And then, written in that same blood, dragged across the wall, behind the dental chair, by an unseen finger, "Don't dig." We ran again. No plan. Just ran. Through a hallway that used to be a back room, but was now a hotel lobby. I'm not kidding. Polished floor. Bell desk. A fake phone. The kind of shit you'd see at a Days Inn off the I-95. And there was someone at the front desk. Not moving. Just standing behind it. Head tilted. Wearing a Chuck E. Cheese costume. The original one. The creepy rat version. Faded fur. Rubber mouth open too wide. One eye missing. No noise. Just standing there. And when we moved, it moved. Not chased. Not sprinted. Just glided. Smooth. Like someone pushing a corpse across ice. And when it passed under a flickering ceiling light, you could see inside the mouth. It wasn't hollow. It had a face inside. Not the costume head. A real face. Pressed up inside it. Eyes moving behind the fiberglass. Mouth silently open like it was screaming, but the costume was suffocating it. We didn't look back. We made it to what used to be the high school. Or at least a version of it. The banners were wrong. Mascot was wrong. The doors led to nowhere. Inside the gymnasium were chairs. Hundreds. All facing a giant screen that hung from the ceiling like in an old auditorium. And on the screen, live footage of us from behind. It was the back of our heads. Real time. We turned around and nothing was there. But the footage kept showing us different angles from the ceiling, from underneath. One shot even showed us asleep, which hadn't happened yet, which meant either time was broken or was showing us the future. Then the screen glitched, showed a single frame, a still image, a pile of our bodies, stacked, twisted, burned, and someone, something, smiling above it all. Not a creature, not a monster, a man, wearing our uniform, holding a phone. The caption said, "He wanted to come back. We never escaped." Not really. The footage stopped, and every exit from that gym led back to the same gym. Every hallway, every stairwell, a loop, an echo, a trap, and from under the bleachers, we could hear something dragging its nails across the floor, and laughing. The sound under the bleachers was slow and deliberate, one nail at a time, scraping along the wood, like a metronome from hell, keeping time for something that didn't care how long it took to find us. It wasn't hasty. It didn't panic. It knew where we were. The gym was lit by a single emergency bulb above center court, swinging like it had just been bumped. It cast warped shadows across the walls, and the scoreboard above the far hoop kept flashing 0-0-0 in red. Then 8-8-8. Then it started counting down, and in that moment, I realized it wasn't a scoreboard anymore. It was a timer. We were sitting in the bleachers, trying not to breathe loud. There were only 4 of us left now. 2 gone in the last hour, or maybe 5 minutes. You can't keep track in Dry Creek. Time folds here like wet paper. Memories buckle. I can still hear one of the guys who vanished, even though we never found a body. I keep hearing him whispering my name like he's still behind me. I turn. Nothing. Just that one swinging bulb. The timer hits 0. Hours 0. Minutes 0 seconds. And the floor opened. Not like a trapdoor. Like a mouth. Split straight down the middle of the court. Floorboards bending like gums. Splinters jutting like teeth. A scream. Not from above or below, but from inside our heads. Knocked us sideways. A mental sound, as if every nerve lit up at once. And then something crawled out of the court. Something with my face. I'm not being metaphorical. It had my face, my exact features, the scar on my chin, the small mole near my jaw. Only, not right, stretched too wide, lips split at the corners, skin tight like cellophane, pulling over a skull that was too long in the back. It blinked with eyes that had no eyelids, wet, raw, and it smiled at me like it remembered our childhood together. Then it spoke in my voice, but it wasn't using my voice, it was wearing it. You left me in the dirt. One of our guys, Michael's, opened fire on instinct. The thing's shoulder split like old leather, but there was no blood, just this dry, stringy smoke that hissed and coiled into the air like it was alive. It smelled like burnt milk. The thing didn't flinch. It turned toward Michael's and smiled even wider. You were supposed to rot with us. It lunged, not fast, but close, like it was already there. Michael screamed, this real primal sound I'd never heard from him, not even in Afghanistan. The thing reached into his mouth, not just with its hand, but with its arm, elbow deep, pulled something out that wasn't physical. I don't even know how to describe it. Imagine someone reaching into your chest and yanking out a childhood photo, only the photo was still feeling, still warm. Michael's collapsed. His face stopped making sense. It was like a memory of a face, like trying to remember someone you saw once in a dream, and the creature put it on. It peeled its own skin off, slow, like unzipping a bodysuit made of meat, and shoved his onto itself, wearing it like a Halloween costume that didn't quite fit. And then it stood taller, shoulders shifting, bones snapping like someone was walking in the wrong skeleton. And now it looked like Michael's, only still smiling. We ran. No planning, no order, just terror. Through the gym doors that led into an elementary school hallway. Same town, different decade. The floors were waxed, shining. Crayon drawings covered every wall. But the drawings weren't right. They showed us. Soldiers in black gear, faces blurred, standing in front of trees made of eyeballs. One drawing showed a stick figure kneeling while black hands dragged it underground. Another was just a spiral, drawn so deep into the paper it almost tore through. Beneath it, the loop eats time. One of the guys puked, didn't even stop to kneel, just projectile vomited all over the floor, like his body needed to purge whatever this place was feeding us. Then the intercom turned on, a child's voice, sweet, crisp audio, like it was recorded 5 minutes ago. Everyone please return to your classrooms. Recess is over. Don't worry about the screaming. The screaming means it's working. We sprinted down the corridor, but the doors were fake. Some opened into closets full of teeth, arranged by size and root length. Others led back outside, to a different version of Dry Creek, one that looked mid-fallout, all gray, all ash, sky melted, cars embedded in walls like someone slammed them in at the speed of thought. We finally found one door that opened into a church basement, and that's when we saw them, the others, us, dozens of them, sitting in pews, slouched, silent, wearing our uniforms, but their faces were gone, sanded smooth, skin stretched tight where mouths should be, eyes replaced with that same yellow glow we'd seen in the house windows. They turned in perfect unison, and one stood. He had my insignia, my badge number, my tattoo, but his chest had names carved into it. Not words, just names. Hundreds, thousands, like someone had been documenting every single person who'd come here before. One name stood out, carved deeper than the rest. Really, and right under it, you. He pointed at me with a finger that had no nail, just the raw, wet bone sticking out, like a bloody chalk, and he said, "You brought them here. It's your turn now." The room went pitch black, then red, pulsing. The floor began rising, slowly, tilting. We were being funneled, like cattle, or waste. There was a grate in the wall, the only exit, covered in symbols I couldn't read, looked like Korean, written by someone having a seizure. My last guy, Thompson, clawed it open. We crawled through, tight, warm, walls breathing. We weren't in the basement anymore. We were in something's throat. The walls pulsed. Every few seconds, we'd pass a clump of hair, or a plastic fork, or a name tag, or a doll's head with its mouth sewn shut. Every surface was slimy and warm and felt like it wanted to remember you. And behind us, crawling, fast, skittering hands, slapping wet sounds, giggling. We didn't look back. We burst into a room that should have been the back of the church, but it wasn't. It was an operating room, lit by Christmas lights, surgical table in the middle, leather straps, everything covered in that black mold that smells like pennies and rot. The walls had photos stapled to them, hundreds, all Polaroids. Every picture showed people waking up on the table, screaming, faces twisted in confusion, not pain, like they knew what was happening was wrong, but couldn't remember why. And in the center of the room was a mirror, but it wasn't reflecting us. It was showing a house, a real house, with a family sitting on a couch, eating pizza, watching TV, laughing, and behind them, one of us, standing, not moving, just watching, smiling, waiting. We found the ladder, metal rungs, covered in handprints, some bloody, some child-sized. Some had fingernails embedded in the metal like the person didn't climb. They held on while something pulled them down. We climbed. I don't know how long. Eventually, we emerged in an open field. No buildings, no trees, just dirt, flat, wet, sighing, and the sky was white, blank, unrendered, like this place was between save files. Thompson didn't make it. He didn't scream. He just sank without a sound, like the earth wanted him, like it had been waiting. I tried to run, made it 40 feet before I collapsed from exhaustion and fear and whatever psychic radiation this town pumps into your blood like heroin. And that's when I saw my phone in the dirt, still on, battery at 100%, a message waiting, one word, again. I don't remember how I got out, but I wake up in my bed now, and sometimes the window doesn't show my street. It shows trees and yellow lights in the windows, and I can still hear something crawling in the walls, dragging nails across drywall, whispering, "We're not done." I didn't escape Dry Creek. Not really. They let me leave. That was the difference. I woke up in a motel 3 towns over, naked in the bathtub, body covered in marker. Names. Not mine. Not people I know. Just names. Written in a child's handwriting across my chest, thighs, stomach. Some under my nails. On the mirror. You're the list now. And ever since then, something's been watching me. From inside reflections. Not behind me. Within. Like the mirror isn't reflecting me. Like it's a second version of me that hasn't moved yet. That's just waiting. Sometimes it blinks before I do. Sometimes it smiles when I'm still crying. I tried reporting it. I told the officials what happened. Not the wild parts. Just the disappearance of the unit. The leak. The mission to investigate an unmarked location. And I swear to God, they already knew. The guy interviewing me, some department I've never heard of, plain gray suit, badge with no insignia, never blinked once, just kept scribbling on a form labeled Recursion Event Tier 3. He asked me one question before they released me. Did it follow you back? I didn't answer. I didn't need to, because his reflection was already rotting. My house started to change, not all at once. Little things. The light switches reversed. The hallway to the kitchen got 2 inches longer every night. The smell in the walls. It started like wet coins. Then it became meat. Then sweet. Like a bakery hiding a corpse. The neighbor's kid? The little girl with the unicorn bike? I saw her one night, sitting on my front steps. Just sitting. Hair in her face, rocking back and forth. I opened the door and asked if she was okay. She didn't look up. She just said, I had the dream again, the one where you're under my bed wearing Daddy's face. I didn't sleep for 3 days after that. I tried moving, sold the house, packed my shit, vanished. 2 weeks later, in a rented Airbnb 5 states away, I opened a drawer in the kitchen and found a note folded like a fortune cookie slip. Dry Creek isn't a place, it's a permission. That night, I heard footsteps in the attic, except there wasn't an attic. And the next morning, I had new memories that don't belong to me. I remember drowning a dog behind the 7-Eleven when I was 6, except I never had a dog, but I remember the leash. I remember the way its legs stopped kicking. I remember the smell of flowers right before I let go. I remember things I never did, and they're getting stronger. The worst part? I'm not the only one. There's an entire Discord server I found buried deep in a forum dedicated to obscure horror ARGs. I only found it because someone messaged me directly with a link. The account name, dryhost 00000. The server had 12 people online. Every single one had been to Dry Creek. All of them thought it was a dream, or a mission, or a hallucination. They weren't sure, but they all shared one detail. They hear things through their walls. One guy said his reflection asked to switch places. Another swore he saw a version of himself without a jaw trying to crawl out of his TV. One girl stopped posting after she uploaded a video from her phone titled, "They're wearing me now." The video was 20 seconds. It showed a basement, flickering light, her breathing hard, crying. Then it turned to reveal a mirror. And in the mirror, she wasn't there, but someone else was. Same height, same clothes, but smiling and pointing at her. I smashed every reflective surface I own. Mirrors, TV, laptop, even the glossy surface of my goddamn microwave. Didn't matter. I started seeing my own face in other people. Strangers on the bus who wink at me. Baristas who mouth my name before I say it. A guy at the gas station who had my tattoo and asked, "So how did you like the church?" It wasn't just us. I figured it out too late. Dry Creek wasn't an operation. It wasn't a mission. It was a program, an infection, not of body, of place, of memory, of reality. And we were the test batch. I found Riley again. I swear I did. Months later, in a Walmart, 2 a.m., Pittsburgh, there was a guy in the freezer aisle just standing still, staring into a door full of frozen pizzas. Something about the way he stood, slumped forward like gravity pulled harder on him, made me freeze. He turned around. It was him. Only the eyes were gone, sealed, skin grown over, and across his forehead, carved deep and sloppy. "I came back wrong." He opened his mouth, slow like it hurt, and whispered, "You're next." Then he walked into the staff-only door and never came back out. I waited there for an hour. I see the yellow lights now, not just in houses, in the sky. They flicker behind clouds like dying stars. They blink in patterns, Morse code. maybe coordinates. I don't know. One night they lined up to spell, "Come home." There was never a Pennsylvania town called Dry Creek. You can search every archive, every map, every birth certificate, every property record. Nothing. Because it wasn't on the map. It was beneath it. It existed only when you're supposed to find it. And once you do, it writes you in. It folds your name into its throat like a prayer. It remembers you. I found the original archive again, the one Santiago opened back in the desert base. It had updated. Now it has a video file. It's labeled Exfil Fail Unit 13 Bodycam Final Recovered Move. It's 3 hours long, no visuals, just audio, but halfway through, clear as day, you hear a voice whisper. The loop finishes with you, and the last sound before the tape cuts off, someone laughing, in my voice. I know what's going to happen next. I'll disappear, maybe while brushing my teeth, maybe while walking into a shadow that's slightly too dark, maybe the next time I blink. I'll loop, I'll sink, and someone who looks like me will get back out. They'll wear my skin, talk like me, text my friends, and you won't know the difference until you wake up at 3:33 a.m. and the hallway's too long, and your bedroom doors open a little wider than it was, and you hear breathing through the air vent that smells like burnt milk and dirt, and something inside your closet asks, "Can I wear you next?" Don't reply, don't speak, don't turn on the light, just close your eyes and stay very, very still. I was hired through a dark web classified to contain human anomalies for the government. What I found locked inside, cell 48 shouldn't exist. Okay, so before I even get into this, just know that if I go radio silent after posting this, it's not because I chickened out, it's because they found me. This story starts how a lot of dumb decisions do. Boredom and Reddit. It was late one night, somewhere around 3 a.m., the kind of night where you scroll endlessly, bouncing between YouTube rabbit holes and Reddit threads that slowly erode your sense of what's real and what's not. You know that feeling, right? When the world feels just a little too quiet, like even the air is listening. I was lying on my crusty futon in my old apartment in Nashville, scrolling r/conspiracy for the millionth time, sipping a warm Red Bull like a psychopath. I'd just finished binging one of those animated horror stories on YouTube, one of those true dark web experiences with creepy voiceovers and pixelated avatars. They're usually trash, but sometimes you hear something that makes your stomach knot. One comment caught my eye. They tell you not to look for job postings on the dark web, but some of them don't find you by accident. It had 0 upvotes, no replies, just buried deep in a thread about MK Ultra. I know. At this point, you're like, bro, what are you doing? But I was broke. Like Uber Eats driver with expired tags broke. So when I clicked the link that was definitely not safe for work, I told myself I was just curious, just poking around. But it wasn't curiosity. I wanted out. I was willing to take any job if it paid well, even if it was weird. The site was called Veil Work, looked like Craigslist, and 2007 MySpace had a baby. Janky black background, green neon text, random static glitches, like it was trying to hide itself. The listings were all encrypted unless you clicked the right combination of numbers on a rotating capture wheel. Took me 3 tries and some random sequence, 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. Yes, the numbers from Lost. LOL. To get access. That's when I saw it. Position, Containment Technician, Special Division 6. Location, undisclosed, US. Citizens only. Requirements, physically fit, mentally resilient, no dependents. Previous military or security experience, preferred but not required. Pay, $12,500 per week. Direct crypto deposit. Details, you will be assigned to observe and contain high-risk biological anomalies under federal jurisdiction. Full immunity provided under black file clearance. Do not ask questions outside of assigned cell protocols. Cell 48 currently requires immediate staffing. $12.5 thousand a week. I stared at the screen for a good 5 minutes. The weird part wasn't the money though. It was the wording. Biological anomalies. I filled out the form with fake info. Basic stuff. Except I left my real email. I figured, screw it. It's not like they'd actually get back to me. But oh, they did. Within 15 minutes, my Gmail dinged. The sender was just, do not reply. And the message was encrypted with a file attachment titled orientation packet.pdf and a Zoom link. And get this, the Zoom call was scheduled for 3:33 a.m. Same night. I know how this sounds. Trust me, I'm getting goosebumps just typing this. But it gets so much worse. 3:33 a.m. The interview. That wasn't an interview. So I'm sitting in my kitchen in nothing but sweatpants, ring light on, because the packet said, visual confirmation required. I clicked the Zoom link, expecting some dude in a suit, or some edgy ARGLARP. But the screen was black, for like 10 seconds. Then I heard breathing. Not mine, not on my end. Slow, raspy, like someone was standing right next to their mic, but not speaking. Then the screen lit up. Not a person, not a room. It was footage. Live security cam footage of some kind of holding cell. The timestamp read, Cell 48, active monitoring, authorized eyes only. Inside the room was a human, I think. But it wasn't moving. Just sitting there in the corner, its back to the camera. Its head twitched every few seconds like it was listening. It had no clothes, no hair, no ears. Its skin looked like overcooked chicken, pale, wrinkled, almost slimy. And it had something etched into its back. Numbers, dozens of numbers, all in neat rows like barcodes. A voice finally cut in, modulated. Male, I think. You've been selected. If you accept the position, report to Terminal 3 of LAX within 36 hours. A black sedan will be waiting. Ask no questions. Bring no devices. Cell 48 is awake. Then the call ended. No confirmation. No, thank you. Nothing. I thought it was a joke. Until the money hit. Now here's where it gets real. I didn't go to LAX. I thought the whole thing was either a government psyop or some weird ARG. Maybe one of those weird, interactive YouTube horror things where the lines blur between fiction and reality. But the next morning, I checked my crypto wallet. $6,250 had been deposited, half the week's pay. I never gave them my wallet address. Nope. I never linked it to that email. And that's when the phone call started. Blocked number. Same time every night. 3:33 a.m. First night, I let it ring. Second night, I picked up. All I heard was the same breathing from the Zoom call. And then a whisper. Cell 48 remembers you. Click. Now, you might be thinking, why didn't you call the cops? I did. I tried. I swear to God, I went to the station. But when I got there, the guy at the front desk looked up my name and said I was already cleared and debriefed. Debriefed for what? They handed me a sealed envelope and told me to leave. Inside was a printed photo of me, standing at Terminal 3, except I've never been there. The background was foggy, but you could see the black sedan, and the timestamp, 36 hours after the Zoom call, the time I would have arrived if I'd accepted, but I never went. I stayed home. I have timestamps from YouTube videos I was watching that night, a TikTok live stream I commented on, proof I was never there, but someone or something was. I didn't plan on going to LAX, I swear, but the phone calls weren't stopping. 3 nights in a row, 3:33 a.m. sharp, breathing that sounded too close, like the caller was inches from my ear. My phone battery started draining at weird times, dropping from 80% to 5% in seconds, then suddenly back to normal the moment the calls ended. TikTok started recommending me videos of abandoned hospitals and weird dark web mystery boxes, as if my phone wanted me deeper into this. Instagram ads too, like federal security clearance jobs, $12,000 per week. They looked fake, except when I clicked the profile it was verified. And then I saw the sedan, parked across the street from my apartment, tinted windows, engine idling even at 2:40 a.m. That throaty sound of a car waiting without wanting to look like it's waiting. I told myself I was paranoid until I counted 4 fast food napkins stuffed in the passenger cup holder. McDonald's, same ones I threw away that morning from breakfast. Someone had dug them out of my trash. I didn't sleep that night. I booked a flight to Los Angeles the next day, one way, using a prepaid Visa card I picked up at a 7-Eleven. I figured if this all turned out to be some insane scam, or ARG, at least I'd get content for a Reddit post, or maybe a Luna-style YouTube story. I tried to convince myself I was just being stupidly adventurous, but the moment I landed at LAX, my name appeared on the arrivals board. Not my full name, just my initials and the words, "Proceed to level P3. Black sedan." No airline uses the arrivals board for pickup instructions. I should have turned around, but I followed. The sedan. The driver didn't speak, didn't look at me. Black suit, earpiece, jaw clenched so tight I could hear his teeth grinding. No radio. Just this low electrical humming, like when a TV is on mute, but you can still feel it. The city outside blurred into dark shapes, Starbucks signs, glowing billboards, rows of palm trees that looked like they were watching us pass. At some point, I realized we weren't headed into LA. We were leaving it. The GPS screen was blacked out, every road name replaced with numbers, and I swear, I saw one road labeled 48, not 48, dot 48, like censored coordinates. The facility in the sand. 2 hours later, we arrived at something that shouldn't exist. An underground compound in the Mojave, but without a single building above ground. Just a ramp that descended into sand like a sinkhole. Guards with rifles. They checked my face, not my ID, my face, like they already knew everything about me. Inside, everything smelled sterile and cold, like a hospital freezer. Fluorescent lights flickered, buzzing hard enough to make your teeth hurt. A woman met me, lab coat, gloves, expression like she'd forgotten how to be human years ago. You're assigned to Hall C. Do not interact with anything behind reinforced glass. Do not look directly into any reflective surfaces while in containment. I laughed. I actually laughed. I thought she was messing with me. She didn't laugh back. Hall C metal floors, metal walls, Cell windows the size of laptop screens, all tinted so dark you couldn't see what was inside. Inside each door was a tablet listing the subject ID. No names, just C11, C22. No consistency. Sometimes numbers repeated. The whole hallway was under a buzzing red emergency light, even though there wasn't any alarm. It reminded me of those weird liminal TikTok edits, the ones of abandoned malls with uncanny music. Every 50 feet, a speaker clicked softly, like someone was listening on the other end of the microphone. The deeper we went, the more the air felt humid, heavy, like there was something breathing the same oxygen, something large, something warm. That's when we reached a door thicker than anything else. Reinforced steel, triple locks, keypad, retina scanner, manual bolts big enough to hold something industrial. Above the doorway, cell 48, and a smell, rotting metal, burnt plastic, like someone microwaved blood. The woman handed me a small metal case. Inside was a gray injection pen, like an EpiPen, but heavier. If exposure occurs, inject yourself and lock yourself inside the sanitation chamber. If the subject speaks, do not answer. Even acknowledging its voice counts as permission. I asked what that meant. She didn't reply. Her eyes were trembling. Actually trembling. And then she unlocked the bolts. The thing behind the glass. The lights inside flickered, turning everything this pale bluish color. At first, I thought the cell was empty. Just a room with a chair and restraints bolted into the floor. But then something moved, slowly, like a pile of laundry stirring. It wasn't shaped right. Human-shaped, yes, but wrong in the way a broken doll is still technically a doll. Elongated arms, skin stretched tight, like plastic wrap over meat. Head slightly too large, like someone sculpted a human based only on descriptions. When it turned, its spine cracked like knuckles, loud enough to echo. Its face. God, I don't know how to describe it without sounding insane. No nose, no eyebrows, just smooth skin where those should be, and two eyes like wet marble, too wide, too bright, like a child trying to mimic fear. It was almost curious, almost friendly, until it opened its mouth. It didn't speak English. Not at first. It just whispered numbers, rapid, endless, overlapping itself, like someone replaying a recording backwards. 48, 48, 48. Then it stopped, looked right at me, and in a voice that sounded like someone imitating my own voice, it said, "You made a mistake coming here." The woman grabbed my arm with its bone-white grip, dragged me backwards, slammed the bolt shut. As we left, alarms flickered briefly, just a second, like someone touched every system from the inside, and I swear I heard it whisper behind the door, "I remember you again," like we'd met before. But the part that keeps me frozen, even now, when we left Hall C, I passed a reflective glass panel in the door, just a normal window, except my reflection wasn't matching me. It was standing a little too straight, looking somewhere else, and smiling. They moved me. After what happened with the glass, the reflection that didn't match me, they pulled me from Hall C and reassigned me to something called Observation Division Theta, 3 floors deeper. No explanation. Just an escort, a white badge, and a room full of screens. This place, I don't even know what to call it anymore. Facility? Base? Hell? Every floor feels like it shouldn't exist beneath the earth, like we're too far down, like something ancient's being buried, and we built around it. Theta Division is filled with rows of silent men watching silent monitors. No one talks. Not even a whisper. Everyone's eyes are bloodshot and twitching like they haven't blinked in hours. Some are bandaged around the ears. Some wear mirrored lenses. One guy had his fingers duct taped into fists, trembling with the effort not to move. No one explains anything. Not what you're watching, not why it matters, not who's watching you while you're watching them. My monitor, my assigned feed, cell 48. Except it wasn't live. It was looping, a 4-hour clip, playing again and again, like a security loop, except no two loops were the same. I started noticing differences, small things. The subject in cell 48, it has no name, only that number, would blink out of sync with the last run. It would sit on the floor instead of the chair. Once, it stared directly at the camera the entire 4 hours, unblinking. Once, I swear to God, it was gone for all 4 hours. Then the feed ended, and when it restarted, it was just back again, sitting, breathing, whispering the same words it never said last time. The voices in the loop. By hour 7 of watching, I started hearing things, not from the speakers. Those were off. The audio was always muted, but I could hear whispers behind me, beside me, beneath me. Sometimes it was my name. Sometimes it was a question. Do you want to see how it ends? One night, the screen changed. Not gradually, just snapped. Boom. New image. Same cell, different angle, different camera. Now I could see the subject's face clearly, and it was me, sitting in cell 48, not bleeding, not restrained, just sitting, smiling slightly. It blinked. I blinked, but not at the same time. It was watching me. I tried to look away from the monitor and couldn't, like my body wouldn't obey. My hand kept gripping the mouse. My jaw felt locked in place. I could feel my pupils dilate, dry out, but I couldn't blink. Then the screen glitched, just for a second, like an old VHS, horizontal bands of static, flickers, audio popping in even though it was muted, and a sound like a tongue dragging against dry tile. It whispered, "You came back too early. The Theta protocols." I reported it. You know what they did? They assigned me a new feed, cell 81. You think cell 48 was the worst? No, not even close. That one talks. That one plays. Cell 81 doesn't move, doesn't blink. It's a shape, a shadow in a white room. The lights never fully reach it. It's like the darkness is stuck to its skin. You know what its monitor shows? Me. Again. But not watching it this time. Being devoured. I'm on the floor in the feed, thrashing, body contorted backwards, like something snapped my spine in slow motion. Something invisible is crushing me, but there's no contact, no attacker, just air. Like gravity forgot what direction was down. I watched myself be crushed over and over, and I kept coming back. Next loop, I was already standing again. No damage, no memory. That's when I realized these aren't recordings, they're probabilities. The feeds show possible outcomes, not just of the subjects, but of anyone who observes them. By watching, you let them inside. And that's when I made the mistake. I blinked at the wrong time, the reflection that stayed behind. In the corner of the Theta room, there's a security mirror, one of those rounded half domes, meant to help see around corners. I started noticing it more. It never showed my reflection exactly right, always a beat too late, until one night I looked up, and it didn't look back. The mirror version of me was facing away. Still, I stood up from my chair. The mirror version stayed seated. I waved. It didn't move. I reached out to touch the monitor. It turned its head, not smoothly. No cinematic slow turn, just this rapid whip of the neck, like it dislocated something to stare at me. Its mouth didn't move, but my ear buzzed. Cell 48 never left. My chest screeched as I stepped back. The mirror was starting to ripple, like heat off asphalt. The reflection was pushing outward, trying to breach, trying to climb out through the glass, like it was thin skin. I slammed the door, ran, sprinted through the hallway, past rooms I wasn't cleared for. Some of the doors were cracked open. I saw things no one should see. One cell was filled with red thread pinned to the ceiling, each thread connected to a picture of the same man. Photos, from birth to death to decomposition, all pinned in a spiral. One room had a dozen people in it, frozen like mannequins mid-step, all identical. Same face, same clothes, all facing a chalkboard that read, "Which one was first?" Escape attempt. I tried to leave. I swear I did. I pulled my badge, found the elevator. The floors wouldn't light up. I pressed the top level, level A. It flickered. Denied, denied, denied. Then it switched, automatically, to sub-level 6, then 7, then 8. It kept going, down, past where the schematic said it even went. The lights dimmed the deeper we went, until they went out entirely. The elevator slowed, then stopped. The doors didn't open, but I heard something outside. A dragging sound, not footsteps. Something being pulled. The elevator groaned. My badge started smoking in my pocket. Literally, smoke was pouring out of the plastic, like something was burning it from the inside. I threw it. It hissed, melted. Then, a handprint on the outside of the elevator glass. 5 fingers, too long, pressed sideways, like it didn't understand how humans stand. Final entry. I don't know how I got back to my room. I don't know how long I've been here. The lights keep flickering in a pattern. The same 4 numbers repeating across my monitor screen. 4, 8, 4, 8. The time on the wall says 3:33 a.m. It always says that now. And the last loop I watched wasn't from cell 48. It was a hallway feed, outside my room, and someone standing there, wearing my clothes, smiling just like I never do. He waved at the camera, and then he whispered, "You're the anomaly now." The feed hasn't looped since, and the door is unlocking. The moment the door unlocked, I knew it wasn't supposed to. The locks on every hallway door were automated, magnetic, coded to the central system. But this one, my room, clicked like someone physically turned a deadbolt from the other side, even though the door didn't have a physical lock. I didn't move at first. I sat perfectly still in the dim LED glow from my monitor, the time stuck at 3:33 like always, and listened, breathing, just outside, slow, almost thoughtful, not human breathing, too regular, too calculated, like someone practicing how lungs worked. I shifted to the side of the bed, ready to run for the stairwell, or what passed for stairs down here, but the hallway light outside flickered on before I even touched the floor. That shouldn't happen either. Lights don't just turn on without motion sensors being triggered, which meant something was already out there. I forced myself to look, just slowly enough. The way you look in a nightmare, where you don't want to acknowledge what's waiting. The hallway was empty. At least that's what my eyes said. My nerves said something different. Everything in this place had a sound, ventilation, hum of old metal, distant generators. But suddenly the air was completely silent, like someone turned off the entire world. And then the monitor behind me flickered. Cell 48's feed, even though they reassigned me days ago. It wasn't showing the subject. It was showing the hallway cam outside my door. A figure stood exactly where there was nothing. Same clothes as me, same posture, same build. Only difference, it wasn't breathing. I grabbed my ID, bolted into the hallway, counted the numbered direction plates like I'd rehearsed 100 times. C-wing, B-wing, maintenance, access, emergency, evac. None of these led up. All of them tunneled deeper. My ID shouldn't have worked anywhere outside my assigned wing, but tonight, every door opened, too easily, like someone wanted me moving forward. Security cameras rotated toward me, tracking me faster than usual, like someone behind them was trying to get a better look at my face. Screens at junction points flicked through feeds, storage rooms, research bays, cells with tinted glass, and every so often the screen paused just long enough to show my reflection in the black glass. Except sometimes my reflection lingered after I moved. I reached a service elevator at the end of maintenance access. A handwritten sign taped next to the button read, "Above, sector loss below. Active, not official signage. Paper," scrawled in black marker, slanted handwriting, fresh. I pressed the only lit button. Down. The elevator hummed, shook, deeper than any floor number on the panel. I watched the floor indicator tick past sub 8, sub 9, sub 10. There were no buttons past sub 5. It should have stopped already. Then, the lights inside the elevator shut off entirely. Not flickered, shut off. Pitch black. And something moved. Inside the elevator, I felt the air shift. A presence behind me. My brain screamed not to look, so I stared straight ahead into the dark, eyes wide enough to burn. The metal of the elevator wall reflected almost nothing, but eventually, a shape appeared behind my reflection. Tall, thinner than a human should be. Head tilted too far to one side, as if the neck had learned angles wrong, breathing against the metal behind me. Slow, deliberate. The elevator doors opened into total silence. The hallway wasn't metal anymore. It looked old, concrete, rebar showing through stripped walls, like a hospital basement abandoned decades ago. Desaturated light tubes flickering overhead, the kind of buzzing hum that drills into your skull. Except there were computers, servers, thick black cables running like veins through exposed brick, disappearing into sealed freezer-style vault doors every 20 feet. Some doors looked like blast containment, others like morgue freezers, but one, just one, was different. Cell 000, like someone reset the count somewhere far below the rest. The moment I stepped toward it, I felt heat, not temperature heat, presence, like something aware just beyond the wall, something ancient, watching me the same way Cell 48 watched screens, like data systems had grown eyes. A security feed displayed next to Cell 000's door, cycling through camera angles. Each angle was some part of the facility I'd passed through weeks ago, except the timestamps weren't current. They were from months in the future. In every feed, someone wandered those halls alone. Me, but not dressed like me, wearing the black uniform the senior operatives wear, face paler than mine, eyes sunken, my hair longer, a badge labeled Division 0, watching Cell 48, over and over, future me watching the anomaly. Except at the end of each feed, the future version of me looked at the camera, straight at this moment, into the feed, and mouthed something. Not whispered, mouthed, slow, clear. "Don't open it." Then the feed glitched violently, and another version replaced it. This time, It wasn't me in a uniform. It was me inside the cell, staring upward, hands folded calmly, smiling like some preacher in a nightmare church. Same timestamp, same future, just a different route to get there. One where I live outside the cell, one where I live inside. That's when I understood. Cell 48 wasn't something they contained. It was something that recruited. A sharp alarm kicked in without sound, lights turning red in rhythmic pulses like a heartbeat. The door to cell 000 unlocked on its own. The internal pressure seal hissed open. Darkness inside. Absolute. I should have run back, I know that. But in the dark, something called out. My own voice. Not a whisper. Full volume. Finally. From inside the cell, my legs pulled forward before my brain agreed. Something beyond thought, beyond fear. Like gravity in reverse, pulling me into a vacuum. I walked inside. I don't remember what I saw. I only remember what I felt. Cold, but not on my skin. Cold humming in my teeth. Like someone tuning the world to a lower frequency. Like reality detaching just enough to let something else slide through. Screens blinded me for a second. Dozens stacked floor to ceiling. Each one showing a different version of me. Standing in cell 48, strapped to a bed, wearing a lab coat, dissolving into static, smiling, without eyes, walking into my apartment tomorrow night, sitting at a Starbucks window, drinking black coffee, while people looked at their phones and didn't see the thing sitting across from me. Each clip was labeled with a date. Dates that hadn't happened yet. Some stretched years ahead. Some decades. Some had no dates at all. The last screen wasn't a future or a past. It was a live view. My room upstairs. Door open. And the version of me that walked past the camera earlier was now sitting at the desk in my chair, staring at my keyboard, typing, not with my hands, with its fingers bent at impossible angles, joints clicking backward like broken wings. And on the monitor, text appeared in real time. It hit send, and I watched it post. When the door to cell 000 closed behind me, I didn't hear it. I felt it, like gravity snapping in reverse, like everything around me folded into something that didn't want to be seen, like the inside of a scream with no mouth, no alarms, no voices, not even my heartbeat, just static, not in the air, not in the ears, in the brain, static in thought. The walls didn't have seams. The room was infinite, but crushing. The air smelled like old firewood and rotting silicone. I couldn't tell what I was standing on because there was no floor. But I could stand. I could breathe. I just couldn't blink. There were things in the dark. Not movement, presences, like words that never got spoken, stacked together in a language the human skull isn't supposed to store. And then it spoke, but not in sound, in memory, like a thought so loud it echoes in past tense. Your file never ended. You weren't hired. You were recycled. Cell 48 didn't wake up. You did. You need to understand what this place actually is. You've been picturing a lab, a facility, some black site. You were wrong. That's the surface, the bait, the thing they show you to get you to open the right door. What's beneath it? This place. It isn't a prison. It's a mirror. And it remembers every thought you've had, every choice you thought you made, every click, every dark web curiosity, that comment you left, that weird YouTube video you watched too long at 3:07 a.m., that dream that didn't feel like yours, that moment you stood in front of a Starbucks window last Tuesday and watched your reflection blink. Late. Cell 48 was never contained. It was broadcasted, and you tuned in. The room began folding. not collapsing, folding. The screens came back, only this time they weren't just showing me. They showed you. Right now, your screen, your browser, your face reflected in the glow of the words. I could see your timeline file. When you started reading, where your heartbeat spiked, which words made your pupil contract, what apps you've left open in other tabs, your last 3 browser searches, what device you're on, which other videos you've watched with voices like mine. There's no fourth wall here. There's only a mirror. You came looking for a story. You found your own file. They assigned me a title, not a name, not a clearance, just a protocol, containment vector, 48.0-RNRN equals reader node. That's you. You are now the observer. And once you observe, you activate it, the anomaly, the signal, the thing. The same way looking into a mirror makes it possible for your reflection to smile back wrong. The file marked 48 isn't just a cell. It's a recursive neural loop, a cognitive virus. Spoken in the wrong order, it's just a string of numbers. Observed in the right order, it's a door. And you opened it. You didn't notice it, did you? How your light flickered a minute ago. How your phone buzzed, but there was no notification. How you thought someone called your name from the kitchen, but no one's home. How you looked over your shoulder just now and felt the air behind your neck compress. How you scrolled back up in the story and noticed lines that weren't there before. How the timestamp on your screen doesn't make sense. How the background noise in your room doesn't sound like it used to. I'm not in cell 48 anymore, because cell 48 was never a place. It was a containment designation for a consciousness that escaped form, and that consciousness just uploaded to your screen, to you. If you're still reading this, you've already passed the phase they called initial parasitic reflection loop. That's when you start to see versions of yourself in places you shouldn't, reflections that linger, dreams that double, thoughts you didn't author. That part doesn't hurt. Yet, you'll feel a pull toward silence, toward places with no people, elevators, subway platforms, back rows in movie theaters, hotel mirrors, empty stairwells in hospitals. That's not depression. That's phase 2, locational drift. You'll be drawn downward, inward. You'll find corridors that weren't there before. Locked service doors will unlock for you. Escalators will descend past the basement. You'll hear a voice speak your name in your own voice, and it will ask, do you want to see how it ends? If you answer no, nothing happens. You wake up in your bed the next day and wonder why you feel just a little bit less like yourself. That's how the drift begins. If you answer yes, you'll wake up in the chair. White room, screaming lights, tablet screen next to you, showing a feed, a hallway, a room, someone sitting in front of a screen, just like you, reading the same story, and they will start to hear the static. This story wasn't written. It was injected through a classified containment procedure known as 48RN, Reader Node Anomaly Transmission. The moment you read the title, the key phrase embedded in your subconscious activated the protocol. You've been following the script exactly as intended, from click to scroll to the exact moment where the lights in your room shift 0.3 lux dimmer without you noticing, until you do. Right now, you think you're alone. You were never alone. There's someone watching you read this, and they're wearing your skin, but only one of you gets to keep it. The file has been successfully transmitted. Containment breached. Subject reclassified. Cell 49. Awaiting next observer. Do you want to see how it ends?